One thing I've learned is that most people have no idea what a composer does. Most have never seen that process. To me, the creative process is a mystery. There's no formula for how to do it. It's an endurance test. I've written music for orchestra, band, choir, piano, organ, chamber ensembles. I'm also a full-time faculty at the Juilliard School in New York. The story of every piece is how do I get from my piano to my pencil and paper, to VSL, to on stage with a full symphony orchestra. My name is Wayne Oquin, and I am a composer. Every time I begin a new piece, it's a question of discovering what I want a given piece of music to say and how best to achieve it. Some I started at the beginning, some at the end, some were in fragments. Sometimes what is on the page is only 2 notes, 1 trichord, 1 dyad. But what that will become fleshed out is quite another experience. My best music comes from revisiting a piece time and again. And the clearer my ideas, the pickier I become. It's a very slow process. I'm staring at the page more than writing. When I compose, the final product is not an MP3. I'm writing for the orchestra. Some of the happiest nights of my life have been sitting in the audience, listening to these ensembles playing my works. I'm writing classical music to be read from a real piece of paper by real musicians. The way that I get inside the piece is by very careful listening. Sometimes things that sound the best on piano don't translate well to other instruments. And yet some passages that are not so pianistic can be devoured by an orchestra. Because of VSL's integration with most notation software, it puts orchestration, color, and timbre earlier in the compositional process. The vast majority of composers have to wait a long time before they can hear live musicians play back their work. Vienna changes all of that. It's an immediate, high-quality representation of what I'm going after, and it's so highly accurate that it just saves time in the overall process. I've been teaching at the Juilliard School for over 20 years. Which scale degree of 5, 7, 2, and 4 has the most freedom in its resolution? Each week, I see approximately 170 students from around the globe. I do 16 different classes per week. It's rewarding. I'm honored to be a part of it, but it takes time. So I work everywhere. Every corner of my home, in my office, restaurants, subway stations, morning, noon, and night. Efficiency is very important to me. And there is an efficiency to Vienna that I've not found replicated anywhere else. The sound is so lifelike and responsive that it's hard to stop working. VSL has helped me in every piece I've been writing for the past 7 years. If there's one piece I could not have lived without it, it would be with my organ concerto, Resilience. The potential balance problems for an organ and an orchestra are enormous. To pair the Vienna Concert House organ with the VSL orchestra, I was able to truly balance those out. I never had to make any revisions for any of the performances, and Resilience has been performed by the Pacific Symphony, 6 times by the Philadelphia Orchestra, and coming with the Nashville Symphony. In the classical world, I think there is definitely a stigma around technology from some. What we have to remember is that every piece that's ever been written in any time was a product of its generation. Composers used the materials and techniques that were there available to them at that time to produce the best music possible. That's what I'm doing in my time. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a tech guy. I don't have a MIDI keyboard. I don't own an iPad. I'm the last composer anyone would expect to be working with the Vienna Symphonic Library. But VSL gives a performer or a conductor or an artistic director or programmer a near exact replica of the score.
One of the greatest challenges I have each year as a conductor is trying to figure out what pieces to play with my ensembles. And what's really helpful with Wayne's music is when I receive a score, I also get an audio file. They sound so true to the actual instruments, and it really helps us as conductors in our oral image to figure out what this piece is going to sound like with a real living, breathing ensemble.
Ultimately, I don't think there can be a substitute for a world-class musician of the highest level. But Vienna Symphonic Library is as close as we can come. There is nothing more exciting than hearing a world-class orchestra rehearse a new piece for the first time. That magic moment of the piece coming to life. I think that classical music is giving human beings something that it can't find anywhere else. So people will always find a way to hear it, to create it, to play it. My advice to students is to endure. It's a long race, not a short sprint. And the learning doesn't stop when one walks across a stage. We should be lifelong learners. Aaron Copland said, "I want to write music that shows what it felt to be alive in the 20th century." I could say, I want to write music that shows what it feels like to be alive in the 21st.